Hello everyone. Today's poem is 南园十三首其五 by 李贺. Li He is a quite unique person in the mid-Tang period. In the mid-Tang period, actually the Tang poetry has many trends and many styles. Anyhow, the styles, the trend is almost well developed in the most prosperous Tang time by Du Fu, Li Bai, Wang Wei, a lot of people. So all the trend and the styles is almost developed. So in the mid-Tang time, the country is declining, the political is corrupted, and the poets, they also has a very, very big sorrow and worry about the country, and also they want to make something different from the most prosperous time. So the major two trend is one is 白居易, 元稹. So they write long stories like folk songs, telling the stories of the people's life. So that's one of the big trend. The other trend is leading by Han Yu. We just had one of the Han Yu's poem, and Li He was the most outstanding poet in this trend. So they are quite famous for they try to use the wording is unique and that's really used in the before times. So they are more focused on the wordings and use the words that very seldom used or never used by other peoples. And Li He is also with his own characteristics. It's not quite outstanding on the wording, the unique wording, but also he's such a romantic poet with magic imaginations, with his in his poem reflected. Though that has some of the contrast because the country, the surroundings is not in a very good situation. Normally, the people, the spirit is low. And but Li He still keep a very, very romantic thinkings, and this may be because his own self-pride. He was a remote descendant of the royal families. Even his family has no power, no money. At his time, it's a very poor family, but he's still quite proud of his royal blood. He was a talent and is very famous for his poem in his early age, and very soon he was appreciated by the leading poet, leading writer, Han Yu. We had one of the poem by Han Yu. So Han Yu was the sort of the flag poet or flag writers of the time. And then he encouraged Li He to went to the Imperial Exam in Chang'an City. But when Li He was at the Chang'an City in the capital, about to attend the Imperial Exam, he was put down or put away from the Imperial Exam because someone said that his father's name has the conflict to the Imperial Exam. So that's sort of the Chinese traditions. The children cannot violate his father's name in a lot of ways. For example, let's say a new emperor ascend to his crown. So if your name or something with you has the same characters with the new emperor's name, you had to change your name to other words, to other characters. So you cannot have the same, you cannot use the same characters which appears in the emperor's name. So that's sort of the things, 避讳. And so Li He actually was set up by some other peoples by this 避讳 things so Li He was in such a sadness and was so hurt by these things because he has devoted all his time in his past 20 years for everything for the Imperial Exam, reading books, writing poems, all for the Imperial Exam. So with that, he get a position in the central government, and then he can maybe try to achieve his accomplishment, his personal pursuit. But till this time, this way was totally shut down to him, and he went back to his home at Nanyuan, so the south farming field, and he write those poems to express his feelings and sadness. So this poem actually very clearly reflect the sadness and conflicts within Li He's mind, because before this time, everything for him is writing poems, reading articles, reading the literatures, and then there's useless to do all these things. And he write this poem to thought about the alternative way for him to go to the battlefield, to achieve his accomplishment by fighting in the battlefield. So this is the poem's about. And Li He is quite a unique person that not with all the royal blood. He's very poor in his health. He died in the age of 27. He's so slim. He has eyebrow that connected here, so it's just like one eyebrow here, and he has a very long finger, and he was in such a poor health, so slim. So that's all they recorded in the history book. And also the way he write poem is quite unique. At the daytime, he take on a donkey and go outside and tour in the field. And whenever he thought about nice sentences, not the whole poem, nice sentence or a phrase, he put it down on the paper and throw that piece of paper in the bag with him. So when he at the evening he went back to his home with that bag full of notes, full of sentences, full of phrases he thought in the daytime. He then tried to fix them up and to make them as a poem. So that's make him that's is so called of 练字 in the Mandarin, 练字. So it's like the refined wordings. So Li He was given the title of 诗鬼, the poetry of ghost. I thought that's because of his poor life, his way of creating the poems, and also the characteristics of his poem. And his poem was with unique wording, very strange, unique wording, and also with romantic, magic, imaginations. And also he has a very distinguished characteristics that the meaning is not normally is not very clear, so his poems could be interpreted in many ways. And his those his characters has a huge influence on the late Tang period. That very clearly shows on the another very famous poet Li Shangyin's characters. So Li Shangyin actually could be treated as the very descendant of the poems from Li He. So they both of them refine their words, select the words that nobody used, and also they have the imaginations, romantic imagination, and also most importantly, the meaning is always not very clear, so it's not straightforward, and always could be explained in many ways. Anyhow, the poem we had today is quite straightforward. I believe the main reason is because the poet at the time is in such a huge fury. All the 20 years of his life past is useless, looks like useless. All the book, all the efforts, all the poem he write looks useless. And he had to change his lifelong pursuit to another direction. Let's see, in this poem, he expressed the man, if he want to have any accomplishment, he should go to the battlefield, not writing poems, not writing articles. So he was in such a big fury, such a big conflict, and he's thinking all the time what his future should be. So that's what this poem's about. Okay, let's have this poem now. 南园13首其五，李贺。男儿何不带吴钩，收取关山50州。请君暂上凌烟阁，若个书生万户侯。Very simple, straightforward, not like the poems by Li He, actually. 南园13首, 南园 refers to a platoon just south to his home, though there's a farm field, and he write 15 poems at this place, or toward the farming field, the south farming field. 其五 means this is the 5th poems in this series of poems writing the south farming field. 男儿何不带吴钩? Starting with a question. Hey, man, are you a man? If you're a man, you should take the weapons. 吴钩 is sort of the knife, which is originated in the Wu place. Wu refers to the place. So basically, that's the downstream of the Yangtze River, Jiangsu and Zhejiang. So that the head, the knife at the head is in a curve. So that what's so called Wu Gou, the Wu's hook. So it's a sort of the knife from the place of Wu country. So basically it means the weapons, any kind of weapons. So if you're a man, why not you carry the weapons? 收取关山50州. Guan, the blockage castles, Shan, mountains. So that's from the name of the rhythms pattern. So we have one of the poems, 关山乐. So that's from the musical department, from the Han Dynasty. So that's the name for the rhythms name, also for the poems types name. And gradually, so people write a lot of the poems with the title of 关山月. 月 is moon. And gradually, 关山 or 月 became the alternatives referring the walls in the frontier areas or the walls. So 收取关山50州 means you take back of the land or the 关山, the block castles, the mountains of 50 states. So here it's 50 states, just like the United States, but in that time, in the Tang period, in the poet's time, that specifically refers to the states in the northern China, especially along the mid to downstream of the Yellow River. So that's the place of the Civil War, the most destroyed place by the Civil War. And even when the Civil War ended, the local generals, they claim they belong to the Tang dynasty, but they keep their arm with themselves, and they don't obey the orders from the emperor of the Tang dynasty. So there's so many battles during the times, and between each other or between them, these states, with the Tang dynasty or with the troops from the emperor, Tang emperor. So whenever the emperor has a little bit power, or he got the resources, the troops, the weapons, he want to make the claim the war toward those states, 关山50州, so basically in the North China, and take back the land. So the first two sentences is quite straightforward. So the country is in such a dangerous situation, and there's so many chaos and so many local powers, forces in the North China, 关山50州, in those 50 states. So if you are a man, why not you take the weapon with you? 武钩, that's the weapon. 请军站上凌烟阁. So if you don't make up man, so there's something not in the surface, but I add it up. If you're not in the mind, so that's the thing I add up. Please, 请军, please go up to the building of 凌烟阁. So 凌烟阁 was a building in the sort of the Forbidden City or the Royal Palace in the Chang'an City. So that's the place. It's sort of the pension in Paris. It has all the heroes who founded or contribute to the Tang dynasty that had their portrait hang on the walls in that buildings. Totally 24 big heroes. So the portrait is all there, and everybody of the Tang people, they know the name or whose portrait is on that place. The big heroes for the country, for the Tang dynasty. So this sentence, 请军站上凌烟阁, means, hey, if you don't make up my mind, please, could you please go up to the building of 凌烟阁 and have a look to all those great heroes of the Tang dynasty. 若个书生万户侯. So 若个 means which one? Though which that means you are on the building of Ling Xiaoge, you are looking to the 24 portrait, and then the poet asks again another question: which students or which man or which scholars? 书生, it normally refers to people who is reading the books, the students. So he asked which students could own the fame of the 万户侯. 万户侯 is a royal title. It's the highest ranking that emperor gave to the big heroes, which means he was gave a land with 10,000 homes or 2,000 homes of farmers. So that's the size of land, also the population that the emperor gave to the hero or gave his officers. So this is the most highest ranking the emperor could given. And so this let me tell this sentence in a simple way. So please go up to the building of the 凌烟阁, so the tower of the fame or the building of the fame of the Tang Dynasty. Have a look at the 24 heroes and which great hero is the his origins from students. So he's which means he owned his fame by reading the books or dig into the literature. Or in other words, when you are on the building of the fame, 凌烟阁, you saw all those 24 great heroes of the Tang Dynasty. You will know that all their fame is by their military accomplishment, nothing to do with reading books, nothing to do with the literature, poems or writing articles, nothing to do with it. So just imagine when the poet Li He write this poem, he's just back from the Chang'an city and he fails the Imperial Exam. Even he wants to get some fame, glory by reading the books or writing articles, writing poems, but that door was shut close. Thinks it's time, and so this poem actually is the real feelings reflected in Li He's mind. So he has devoted his early 20 years for all the things of reading books, writing poems, writing articles. He owned a fame, but actually the way has been shut close. So he's thinking, what's the future ahead for himself? To own the fame by the military glories, to get into the battlefield. But we know he has a extremely poor health and body. So that's the huge conflict. But from the poet, we didn't feel that. But we can feel his mind is very strongly expressed. He has a very strong mind. And he said, as far as you are a man, you should go to the battlefield. This could be the self-encouragement. It's hard to tell. Well, it's very interesting that if we compare this poem with the other poem by Du Fu, so both was written in their 20s, and both express their dreams or their pursuit, personal pursuit. So we can find it's totally different. So here, Li He expressed very clearly, he, as a man, he should own the fame by the military accomplishment. He should get to the battlefield very clearly, and nothing to do with the literacy, poem writing, but actually which is his used to do, and also he was get a little fame with that at the time being. And when we compare the poem with Du Fu's Wang Yue, you can check the details later, but I just quote the last two sentences. 玉灯凌绝顶 一览众山小. So this expressed personal pursuit or goals for Du Fu. Though he want to be on the top of the mountain. Though that mountain is quite significant because that's place for the emperor to make ceremony to the heavens to express his feat that for the country. So only the very few emperors through the Chinese histories has qualified to be able to do that ceremony on that mountain, specific mountain, Taishan. So Du Fu was expressed feelings, his pursuit is on that top of that mountain and look down to everything. 一览众山小. So when you're on the top of the mountain, so all the other mountains is beneath you. It didn't point out very clearly what kind of the feat or what kind of the glory he want, but you can feel it's quite different. The one is to just like Li He to own the most glorious, highest noble rankings from the emperor, while the Du Fu was want to be on top of the world. So that's I didn't say this to person which is more superior, but I think there could be some factors associated with the person, but more or less it's the environment, the status of the society or the country, the situations reflected on the poems and also on his personal pursuit. Okay, that's for today. So Li He, we could learn a lot from his wordings, and he has a lot of the wordings recited today and quoted today a lot. And this poem definitely is one, 男儿何不带吴钩. So that's a self-questioning. Also, that's a self-encouragement to be strong, to be brave, and to take the arm, to take the weapon. 收取关山50州. So that's very clearly take that back with ease. So he didn't go further about how hard to take that land back, how bloody, how hard the battle is, how bloody the battle is. Nothing. It's just a piece of cake. Take it back. So that express the extraordinary, romantic, and brave courage. And the last wording, 弱个书生万户侯. So that could be a self-blame to all those students. So anyone don't like to read the book, you can use this quotation, 弱个书生万户侯. So the students, the people who's reading so many books, is useless. And there's also a very popular idiom that is 秀才遇到兵，有理说不清. So that's another very popular way to express this situation, that the scholars, when they meet with soldiers always taken down the scholars. Okay, that's for Li He, the leading poet in the mid-Tang period. Bye-bye.